right, so here we are. We're gonna do a show here where we're pretty much doing higher, lower is the base off of what me and Rodney did last year. I wanted to do it this year with my guy Daniel here from Varsity Breakdown, where we're going to be going over all the regions, all the teams that we cover, both in Southern Arizona and also Pinal County,
Yes,
which is
sir.
going to be a lot of fun. Um, how many regions pretty much are you kind of wrapped up in here? I mean, you got a couple teams
I want to say only like four, if you think about it, because no, maybe five.
that you bring into the
Yeah,
but obviously the extensions of those teams, which is going to bring a
yeah,
lot
because
of different flavor throughout the
I have like four teams in one region
right.
alone, so that's a bulk of my teams there. I cover 13, but now 14 teams is Desert Sunrise is the newest team in
Yeah,
Maricopa.
and it's really interesting because that is a brand new program. I got to speak to one of the coaches up there at the Lake Forest
Okay,
camp, which was really interesting.
how was that
Uh,
actually?
what was really interesting at the Lake Forest camp was about 650 kids, always one of the largest. And it was funny. I was talking to Coach Cat, who's the head coach for Lake Forest, and he was telling me how that camp actually brings more athletes to it than ASU's camp.
I believe it.
So yeah, so last year's number was about 700, which was done over there. I believe it was at Pinnacle. This year was over at Mountain Point.
Hmm.
So great event, always a great thing. Great to see. I saw athletes from several of actually some of these like Douglas. I saw guys from Sahuarita. I saw some from obviously a lot of the schools here. I saw a bunch from
Pinal County.
right,
Yeah.
Santa Cruz Valley. They had
Yep.
a lot of good showing. Also, you had Casa Grande. They had several people up there. So a lot of the Southern Arizona family was up at the event, which was really nice to see. So I was definitely a positive thing there as well.
Oh, definitely. Unfortunately, I was out of town during that event, but
Excuses.
I know. But I definitely am going to try to make it out to the Tucson. Was it Western New
Western New
Mexico?
Mexico, yeah, they're
June
gonna be.
7th.
Plus, actually, I don't know, like, when we'll probably throw this out,
Hmm.
because we are pre-recording this show. Amphi is actually doing a 7-on-7 this Friday,
Okay. Okay.
so that could be an interesting go-to,
Well,
and
yeah,
actually, it's more towards an evening kind of setting as well.
even better.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It helps out. So
Even better.
I think it caps off and finishes around 8 o'clock ish. So they're going to start a little.
Look,
I posted up the if you definitely can look it up at SOAZ, which
and
I
is that
believe
one that's going to be like more Southern Arizona teams, or is it a
mostly
mix?
Southern Arizona teams typically tends to be the way that the Amphi 7-on-7 goes. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things coming. It's definitely getting into camp season, which is
Hmm.
always something that we want to see these kids get out to. If we don't have athletes going to camps, then these camps obviously aren't going to come back, and that's where you run into some of the recruiting problems and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it was real nice to see on the Lake Forest event that we had a lot of posts all over Twitter, which was good for obviously everything.
Yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait for some of these camps. I know I got a couple down in Coolidge here in June of next week, and
Right.
I think the following week as well. And majority of those teams are all Pinal County teams too.
Well,
So I think even including like up a mountain team like Globe. So that'll be something interesting for me to go check out and kind of see what's going on around Pinal County. But even one of the big things I got going is streaming stuff.
yeah.
You know,
And you know what? Actually, that's great that you brought that out because we are going to definitely try to stream some of these games. And being that we are doing that, and we're going to actually go over the Gila region.
hmm
We're going to start there. And what we're going to start off, we're just going to go alphabetical through it. And what we're going to compare is last year's rankings to this year's season. So we're going to kind of see how's it going to do. And then what we're also doing, we're basing a lot of this off of MaxPreps rankings. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at the teams that they're about to play, the rankings of those teams, and we're going to sit there at the end and go higher, lower, and maybe you might be able to give us some highlights on why Amphi may be a little bit more
uh-huh.
or maybe be a little less, and we'll just kind of kick that off or whatnot. We'll go Amphi and run through the region as many as we can get here.
I like it.
But we're only going to be doing 15-minute segments, something around
Sounds good.
that. We'll be flying through here. Uh, It's just what it is. And I think we probably went through 5 minutes just doing this right now. But hey, either way, we're going to get
ready to
into
go.
it. So we're going to start off. And last year, Amphi, what they did, they ended up ranked 178th in the state. They had a season where they ended 208th. Actually, I apologize. 2-8.
Yeah.
208. But yeah, they ended up 2-8. With the combined of all the rankings of teams that they played, I got them ending up at a strength of schedule of 1292. And what that means to you guys is I take all the rankings of every team that they played last season and total up those rankings, and that's where I get the strength of schedule that I use, because at least that's kind of a little simpler way of looking at the strength of schedule. Might not be the AIA way of doing it. It's the way I do it, and I guess we're going to be doing that this season together. So
Sounds great.
Let's look forward. So let's go over that schedule with Amphi and see what we got here. They're going to start off the season at Maryville. Which Maryville was ranked 198th last year. Once again, let me just remind you, Amphi was 178. So Maryville was 198. Then they're going to be coming back home, playing at Independence, which was 163. And then the next trip is going to be Flowing Wells, which was 167. Then they have another home game, which is going to be CDO, which is going to be, they were ranked 40th last year. And then they get into that, and this is a big region.
Yes.
I mean, 7 teams in the region. A lot of the teams are kind of equally. That's what I'm really loving, and I'm excited to kind of see how this all plays out, is because these teams are ranked a lot more similar this season. So you run into Cholla, which was ranked 180 or 197th. They're going to be at Cholla that game. Then they get to go south to Douglas, who was ranked 168. Then they're going to go over to the east side of town out there in Vail and play Empire, who was ranked 180. Then you're going to be back here playing TUSD's Rincon University, who was 209. And then they have Rio Rico, which they're going to go south to Rio Rico, play Coach Skern there at 164. And then Sahuarita, once again, over on the south, which is going to be 206. So what they actually have ranked, if you're looking at those stats and whatnot, you have MaxPreps pretty much saying that their season, they'll have a strength of schedule at this point. Once again, all this can definitely easily change, but the strength of schedule will be at 1692. And actually, Amphi was probably marked his schedule in this situation to end their season at 5-5, which would be a big change for that 2-8.
Definitely.
Can you tell me any of the pros and cons why maybe this is absolutely wrong? Do we got a lot of guys come and stay in here at Amphi, or are they leaving, or what's the situation?
You got a little bit of both. I mean, they were young, especially at the quarterback position, having Imano, I hope I'm saying this right, Imano Silva. He was a freshman quarterback.
Okay.
So they're going to be bringing somebody in with a little bit more experience coming into this year. But they did lose a couple players that more so on the offensive end, but still a very young team I in my eyes. So as far as experience goes, you still got a young team that's got another year of experience. Do I see it kind of helping? Absolutely.
Right.
But at the same time, I could say that about some of the other teams that they're playing, especially like I know according to MaxPreps, you got Empire.
Right.
That's going to be a tough game either way. And so I could see that one going either way.
A lot of these games, I think, are going to be really teeter-totter. Like, it could go one way or the other. And so it's real interesting. Like you're saying, you have a real young quarterback coming in. The one thing that I think is going to help them, obviously, in this situation, and maybe I'm just going to sit here like, if we're going to, and I want you to tell me, and I know that you're out of your element, helping out with some of the Southern Arizona teams. Obviously, when we go through Coolidge,
I'm going to be talking away.
I'm going to be the one that's looking kind of clueless. So I do appreciate, like, obviously you're helping here. But I'm going to sit here and say I'm probably going to go with MaxPrep on this with a 5-5.
Okay.
The reason why I'm going to say that is that they'll probably will get more wins just based off the simple fact that their strength of schedule changed. Once again, they went from a 1292 up to a strength of schedule of 1692. Huge difference for them. Obviously, the schedule kind of favors them a little bit better, so they are going to play more similar teams than they were playing last year. No, you might still get blowouts, but I don't predict any like blowouts where you could predict like a week in advance or something like that. So this is definitely cool schedule that they got going here.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I'm gonna have them go 4-6 though.
Okay.
Just on that game against Empire, I saw them play Vista Grande last year.
Okay.
I like the things that they had going as far as rebuilding their program because back when I played, that was kind of more so a powerhouse team in Tucson, but that was many years ago. But seeing the way they competed with Vista Grande, at least for part of the game,
Right.
I felt like they could definitely improve coming
Oh,
into this
absolutely.
year. But like looking back at some of their scores from last year, like you said, a lot of their region games were pretty close.
Mhm.
So I just say one or two games here or there. I have them going 4-6.
Okay, so you're giving a couple games
A
like
little bit
Empire,
lower.
and I could definitely see Empire being that one of those elements that come in and does an upset. Definitely could see that. George Kelly over there does a hell of a job at Empire. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean definitely. So let's go over to the next one, which would be Choya.
Okay.
Choya is going to come in this season. They were ranked 197. They ended their year last year at 2-8 as well. They come into this season coming off of a strength of schedule of 1398. Looks like this year they're running up against a strength of schedule of 1749. And let me kind of break that down here.
Hmm.
They're going to start off with Copper Canyon. I apologize. Ranked 200. They also are going to play Maryville at Maryville, which they're ranked 198. And they're going to go ahead and play Pueblo. This is always a rival game. Pueblo and Choya, these guys bash it out, which is Pueblo's 126. Then they got Saguaro over on the east side of town at 120. They are playing Amphi, which we just discussed, 178. Then they go over and they play Rincon University at Rincon, 209. Then they got to travel south down to Douglas, where they'll play them, who was ranked 168. Sahuarita, they're going to play them at home, which is 206. And then Empire, they're going to finish that off with them, which that'll be at Choya as well, and they were 180. So with that, what MaxPreps has predicted is that Choya should probably end their season at 4-6, which, we can sit there, and this is what I really like about these schedules as well, is that I'm looking at that 6-4 to 4-6 ranking kind of
Hmm.
thing, which is telling me that they're in the right place. They're
Right.
playing the right teams. When you see 10-0 stuff like that, or 0-10, typically that team's in the wrong schedules. They're in the wrong places. They need to play either stronger schedules or weaker schedules, depending on. So I'm really liking that you got these flip of the coin games. So
Absolutely.
so go ahead and tell us about Choya. What's going on with that?
So from the look of it, Choya is more a run-based team.
Yeah,
But they actually lost their main
Efren.
run. Yes, yes.
Malachi Efren. Yes.
So he'll be gone. So it's going to be interesting to see where they fill that void.
Mhm.
Like from the looks of it, I mean they only threw for 462 yards the whole season. So it's a team that likes to run the ball, but now who's the next person to step up? It's really tough to say because outside of Ifan, is that
Yeah.
yeah
Efren, whatever. Malachi.
Malachi, there you
There we
go.
go.
Outside of him, they don't have a lot of
He was
experience.
he was their go-to, pretty much the put it on his shoulders, and he did amazing job. But yeah, losing him, I can see Coach Virgil over there struggling maybe to find that replacement. But the nice thing that once again I'm going to reflect back on this region. The nice thing is I think with going to a region like this, dropping down to 4A because they were 5A last year,
Hmm.
dropping down to 4A. The nice part about this is you might get some of these kids to come out and say, "Hey, we could make a difference." So that could be definitely in the arsenal for Coach Virgil over there. So hopefully that does change things. Once again, they got him at 4-6. Where are you saying higher, lower, or what's your feeling on that?
From the looks of it, I'm gonna
With the
stay the
4 and
pack.
6?
Stay the 4 and 6.
I'm not mad with you, because I mean, honestly, I'm probably somewhere around the same place.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not going to get down to exactly like the science, like me and Rodney used to get into exact details. But I think when I'm looking at this, if the big determining factor once again on this is what can Coach Virgil do to draw kids out to this program,
Right.
because if he does get a bunch of kids, easily I can see doing better. But if he can, I can see it going the other direction as well.
So you're gonna go 4 and 6 as well?
I'm gonna ride with you
Okay.
on the safe pad, man.
Yeah, because like you said, that region definitely has a lot of toss
Oh,
up
it's gonna
games
be
depending on the program.
so good to watch. Like compared to past years, this is gonna be a fun. Like it might not be like ooh, these are like some of the best teams in town, and don't take that wrong, people. But I think what we do is this is gonna be exciting football, for 'em.
Competitive for
Yeah,
sure.
fun. It's bringing fun back to the schools, and
Exactly.
I think this is a good change. We're gonna go over next. We're gonna go over to the east side, which is gonna be Empire. Now, Empire finished their season last year. Oh, actually, I apologize. We're going to jump back one. I slide things around here, and I jumped to school. Sorry, Douglas. We're going to go back to you. So Douglas last year ended up 4-6 with a 1305 strength of schedule. They ended up at ranked 168th. Now they come into this season. What I'm seeing here is the strength of schedule here went from, once again, they were at a 1305. They're dropping down to a 1731. Once again, a little bit better for their brand of football. Now they were at 4-6 last season. MaxPreps got them this season predicted to go 6-4, which is going to be
nice.
a difference for, like, obviously
Exactly.
getting on the other side of the 500 hump.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Douglas has always been in 4A,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
I remember.
At least
Uh,
for like the past that I've reckoned.
Okay. Because I remember they played. I believe they were in the same region as Casa Grande, but I think that's when Casa Grande was still in 4A.
Could have been, because
Their
I mean,
state championship year.
Whenever Casa Grande, and then you say Casa Grande, whenever
Casa
Casa
Grande,
Grande, you got to throw me around here. Whenever Casa Grande was down here, I think they got bounced around when they actually went in one state.
Okay.
I think they were in the Keno, but I think there was also times where they might have been in the Gila. I don't know the history of it, so I apologize. But yeah, definitely, I know that they've crossed paths, because that was one of the games that we were actually at.
Yes.
A couple years back
I think it was the first one we actually
together.
connected. Yeah.
Yeah, and we
met
went
up.
over and we watched that, and got to see Just Chili was out there, and that was still under Jake Barrow.
Yep.
Yeah, so and that might have been actually
The year
that was
they
the
won
COVID.
state.
That was it the COVID year?
No, that was the year they won
won
state,
state,
because that was the
perfect.
first year that
Very cool.
Loopy and I came up with the varsity breakdown. So
All right.
happened to see a state championship
So there
our
you
first
go.
year.
We got
yeah.
a little tradition back here with the varsity breakdown. Looking at this one, going over their schedule, they're going to start off with another one out of your guys' area. They're going to
ALA
start
Ironwood.
off at ALA Ironwood, which was ranked 152 last year. Bisbee, which is their big rival.
Okay.
They are ranked, and they're going to be at Douglas for that game. So Douglas, guess what? You get a house the big game this year against Bisbee at 170.
See, and that's new for me, because I thought Bisbee and Benson were rivals.
No, so I
This
guess
is Douglas, huh?
Douglas
Or
and Bisbee, because
Isn't
they're
it
right
the
next
oldest rivalry in football
one
in
of the oldest
Arizona?
in the country, I thought.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, it's been a while.
I'm learning. I'm learning.
Hey, I mean, maybe I'm off, but that's what I was told. So then they're going to be able to. Douglas will stay at Bisbee, playing them, which is ranked 170, which is another good one. They were 168, they're 170, so it's going to be a hell of a game.
Yes, most definitely.
Then you got Douglas staying home playing Sahuarita. After that, they do travel north up to Ironwood Ridge. And I apologize, Sahuarita was 120. Ironwood Ridge was ranked 155. They do travel over to the east side after that to play Empire at 180. Amphi was 178, and that'll be at Amphi. Then they get to stay home playing Cholla at 197 and Rio Rico, which was ranked 164.
Okay.
So they're, like I said, they were predicted by MaxPrep to go 6-4 this upcoming season. Are you going to ride with it, or?
I'm actually gonna go higher.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna go higher. They're
Okay.
one of my favorites in this whole region this
I'll
year.
tell you what,
They
I'm actually agreeing with you on this.
and from looking at some of the stats from last year, of course they're losing their quarterback. Unfortunately, they'll have
Hell of
a
a baseball player.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay. And it was Aiden Rodriguez.
correct.
So they'll have a sophomore. If I go off of the roster, they'll have a sophomore quarterback coming back, but they got a lot of
Oh,
receivers.
Emilio,
And yeah,
the wonder dog over there. He's
yeah.
doing everything.
And so they're returning their main running back, and then they got a lot of senior receivers that are going to be coming back this year. So
They just got to find out who's slinging the rock.
yeah, definitely. And if it's Emilio, I mean, he got a lot of weapons to throw to. So that's why I'm going to go a little bit higher, and I'd say at least 7-3.
Yeah, Emilio was he's pretty much like their Swiss Army knife.
He does it all.
Like he plays the running back. He does also the wide receiver stuff. And I think he might have led in both of those categories. I know you're gonna digging it up on me.
Oh
right
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did lead in rushing,
Rushing
and receiving.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he's coming back. Just saw him at that Lake Forest camp too, so it's going to be exciting to see what he goes and does this season. So you're saying above it.
I'm
Hey,
gonna
you know
go
what?
higher.
I'm going to sit there with you. I know we're not arguing as much as me and Rodney does, but I'm going to go with you on this one here. I think Douglas does go in there, and actually, I might actually give Douglas the region.
That's where I was going as well.
Yeah,
Kind of looking it over and seeing how much they improved from the first year I saw them
Right.
to last year is I was like, you know what, they're on that brink of actually making that next step. And could it be a team that you possibly see in the playoffs? Maybe as
No, I don't. And unfortunately, unfortunately, not to bust bubbles, I don't really see any of these teams making it to the playoffs. But I do see these teams kind of starting to change the culture, bring more kids into it, and then hopefully here in the future be able to make it to the playoff games. But I think this is exactly where they need to be.
Most
And
definitely.
unfortunately, it doesn't have too many playoff bells and whistles for them. And that's just due, once again, the strength of schedule that we're looking at here is 17-31. I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, I mean, but once again, it does help draw and get the community behind the program, and that's where you got to go to start off things. So let's go over to Empire,
Okay.
which is definitely going to be one of the other dogs in this category. I mean,
Definitely.
So much could happen here. Which I mean, honestly, we could flip coins on who could take this region. You got Empire; they're coming off of a winning record of 3-7. And now they were playing a strength of schedule last year of a 14-35. Now they do come in at 180th for this season from last year. Now they start off at Sierra Linda, which was a close game last year.
Okay.
Now they were ranked 142. Then they stay home for La Jolla Community, which was ranked 181. They do get to play Ironwood Ridge as well.
And La Jolla is a school that dropped down to 4A,
I
right?
believe so. I do think they did drop.
Okay.
Ironwood Ridge will be playing. Now they're still at 5A.
Oh, okay.
Ironwood Ridge, which they were ranked last season 155. They do go travel over to Pueblo at 126. Let's see here. Then they go travel down, and we just talked about this over at Douglas, who was 168. Sahuarita, they go traveling south for 206. Amphi, 178. That's going to be a home game. Then they do travel over to Cholla at 197. Rio Rico, 164. And Rincon, that'll be a home at Rincon with rank 209. This strength of schedule from a 1435 last year goes down to a 1726, and they are predicted by MaxPreps once again to go 4-6. Where are you at on this one?
This one I'm gonna go a little bit higher.
Well,
Yeah, I'll say 5-5.
something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
somewhere around there. As far as I got to see him play last year against Vista Grande. They have some good pieces at the quarterback and running back positions. especially I think his name is Jordan Nuvene, I believe is his last name.
Okay.
If it's the kid that I'm thinking about, I mean, he was one of the smallest kids out there on the field,
Just does it.
but he does it. You know, he got the speed, he got the quickness. I just feel that this team is a little bit better than 4-6, but
Okay.
and that's just going back to like looking at some of the teams that they're playing. You know, the Sierra Linda game, you say it's going to be a close one. It was a
Right.
close one last year. La Jolla Community, I think, is a team that's still developing as far as they go. And then, what do you think they could beat Ironwood Ridge, or they're not at that point yet?
Um, I think I'm on a toss up on Ironwood Ridge. I think actually this year maybe they do get a little better than they did last year. Obviously, there was a lot going on. And maybe they know the coach's system a little bit better. So I'm going to give maybe a little favor here at Ironwood Ridge. So I do still think they'll get the win that they're predicted to take on this
Okay.
because they are one of the 5 that they have. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to give them that. When I'm looking here at losses, um, I think you're kind of on it, that 5-5, 4-6 kind of thing. And once again, I think people are going to be jumping like to conclusions like, why you feel this way. I think these schedules and these games are a lot more. It could go one way or another, like we
Mm-hmm.
discussed. So these are going to be nail biter games. So we could be so far off, which is going to be fun to watch them do the picks that we normally do.
Yeah, most
So
definitely.
so we'll see how everybody predicts on this one. Um, so we're trotting through it. We got 3 more teams here. We were going to try and wrap this up a little bit quicker. Hopefully, we can get through it fast because, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday and we're off to Native after this
Yes,
for those
sir.
50-cent wings, right?
Yes, sir. Every
Gotta love it.
Tuesday,
Absolutely.
bone-in wings.
Bone
Bone-in
and
wings.
wings. Because
That's the way I
we're
like
not
them.
eating nuggets, we're eating
No,
wings.
exactly.
There you go.
If you want nuggets, Wednesday is that night, and
No.
I won't be there.
When if you want nuggets, it's 2 for 1 at Buffalo Wild Wings on Thursday. Let's go. So hey,
All
anyways,
right.
so we're gonna hit
Rincon.
up Rincon. Yes, they finished off last season, and this is an interesting one because things really don't change for
Mm-hmm.
Rincon on this one. Yes, they were playing in 5A. They moved down to 4A. Um, Now, last year they ended their season at 1-9. They were ranked 209 in the state, but they were playing a strength of schedule of 1641. All right. This upcoming season, from a 1641, their schedule goes to about a 1700. So it doesn't change much on strength of schedule. The big thing here is they do drop from 4A from 5A to 4A, which is their bonus. And they're going to start off at Washington. That they were ranked 202 last year. Then they're going to stay on the road as they go over to Palo Verde, which is ranked 188. And then they get to stay home, which is nice because they got to play Safford, which was ranked 99th. But then they're right back on the road again, taking a trip down to Rio Rico at 164. Cholla comes in where there will be a home game again at 197. Vista Grande, 118. Then they're at Amphi at 178. They then go on another trip as well over to Sahuarita at 206. They played Douglas at 168 at home and also Empire at 180. Now, MaxPreps, with the ranking of what they're at 209, they actually have Rincon coming in this season at 0-10. I don't see that being the case. I think they should do obviously a lot better amongst peer teams. They're not going to have that wear and tear of playing the big teams or whatnot. But it's really going to come down to, I think, when you talk to Coach Copeland or anybody like that,
Mm-hmm.
getting kids out on the field to go ahead and help make this change and change things around. Do I think they go 0-10? No. I think actually what they'll do is they'll get a couple little upsets in here, which is actually going to screw up everything we're saying.
Yep.
So this is going to be one of my teams that could screw everything up that we're picking up, which is great if they go in there and think that way and kind of change the thing. But do you have anything to tell me about this team at all?
I mean, as far as it's gonna be a team that got to fill in a couple holes on the offense, but I think total they had about 15 touchdowns. total.
Right.
Or so I think
It's
that's
hard,
where
man.
it is, and they're a team that came from 5A, correct?
Right.
They dropped down. So as far as it looks, they still have a couple good running backs coming back. Their two main wide receivers are returning as well. So it's just another team that got to fill in one of the most important positions, which is quarterback.
Well, just like pretty much all the time, right?
Yeah, most
Now,
definitely.
and I think some of the key games that they got to definitely get here is Washington,
Hmm.
who was coming in, which is close to their ranking at 202. They didn't see them last year. Also, Sahuarita. Sahuarita beat them. Actually, I believe no, because Sahuarita lost all their games last year. So, um, I think I don't think they played. That might have been the case or whatever the case. So, actually, you know what? I have it. If I scroll up, let's look there. So no,
Yeah,
they did not. Actually, they
they
did
they
play and
beat.
they beat Sabarita.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be another thing where you're running into it's certain key games. You got to get those. Starting off the season at Washington, that's a big one. I think you could even sit here and kind of say maybe Palo Verde.
Hmm.
Could that be a situation? What does Palo Verde have as they drop down to 2A?
Okay.
So it's really interesting to see what happens. See if they can get some of those wins to kind of build and get the energy. Like once again, it's the little small things that are going to make this region so exciting to watch. The next one that we're going to go ahead and look at, we're going to go over to Rio Rico. Let's see here, and with Rio Rico last year. They ended up their first year with Coach Skern at 4-6, and they were playing a strength of schedule of 1446. Now they come in here a little different. They get a little better schedule in their favor. 16-19 is the strength of schedule that I have on this one.
Hmm.
And the other thing is Rio Rico comes in as the high seed of this region. Um, they're coming in once again at 164. So this could be a great thing for that program, depending if they hit the strides or whatever the case might be. But we'll go over real quick. Obviously, their record or their schedule that they have. They're going to start off in Rio Rico versus Vista Grande. That's one of your squads.
Yes, sir.
Who is ranked currently 118. That's going to be a big game. Then they go up to Glendale, where they're going to play a 102. Then they come back to play their rivalry game against Nogales at 165. They do get to stay home at Florence when they play Florence at ranked 96. Rincon, they get to play them, who we were just discussing, at 209. They'll travel south from there to Sahuarita and play 206. And then they go even further south to Douglas following that at 168. They come back and they are at home playing Amphi at 178. Empire is ranked, and they'll be over in Vail once again at 180. And then they have Cholla at 197. Now they're predicted highest as we were kind of looking at so far at 7-3. Now I think the big dog fight here, what we're going to probably see here, is if we go over to that game against Douglas.
Okay.
Now,
Yes.
yeah, obviously there's some other games that are crucial in there, but when you got a 164 Rio Rico playing 168 Douglas, and we're already saying Douglas could be firing on some cool cylinders right now,
Yes.
that's going to be a really cool game to watch. So we'll see how that goes, and who that might actually be the region game.
That's what I'm thinking now.
Kind of leaning that way.
Yeah, wrapping that one up, and it would have been better if that was the last game of the season, because then it would have been a lot more to play for. But I mean, looking at their schedule,
Right.
you know, Florence, I can go all day talking about Florence and what
They lost.
they lost a lot of kids, but their two returning players, are at quarterback and running back.
Oh, okay.
Vista Grande is returning a lot of players as well. So at 7-3, depending
But
on
those
how
are two of the games they got predicted for those
for them
teams
to lose,
win.
and honestly, depending on Vista Grande, what I hope they come into this year is, last year I had told them, or I had preached about them, is consistency,
Right.
beating the teams you're supposed to be beating, and if it playing up to the level you should be playing at.
Right.
Florence surprised me, but at the same time, they lost a lot of players. Could it be a game that they pick up against Florence? Possibly.
Okay.
The same with Vista Grande. Could that be a team where they come out flat? I mean, because their first game of the season was against Marcos Deniza last year,
Right.
and I thought it was going to be a very good contested game. They were, I believe, at the start of the season, almost ranked side by side, and Marcos Deniza blew them out. So those could possibly be two games where it could go either way. And I won't trust that. So I'm gonna go a little bit higher
Okay.
for their overall. I'd say like at no lower than the 7-3, but could possibly be a 8-2.
You know, and it's interesting because like you're also looking at one of the biggest games for them, which is against Nogales. Now, Coach T, that was over at Nogales, is no longer there. So this is a brand new coach over at Nogales. Coach T actually traveled up to the next team that we'll be talking about, which is Sahuarita. But so there's a lot of different things when I'm looking at here. You're looking at games that like Douglas that we talked about. That's a crucial game. Amphi would be one of those games as well as Nogales, just in case something does happen there. But then, yeah, obviously the teams that they got predicted to lose to would be and there's only a few like the teams that you had mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to definitely see, but could they be the region winner? We don't know. I think Douglas is definitely going to give them a fight, as well as several other of these teams could become situations that we're not expecting. So be interested to see that. And to top off the region here at the Gila region that we're going to be talking about, it's going to be Sahuarita. Sahuarita last year had a hard year. It was a big struggle for them. They finished off 0-10. They played a strength of schedule of 1344. Now, they were ranked 206 at the end of the season. And this is their schedule they're going to have to overcome. Is they start off with Alhambra, which could be something in their favor at 212. They travel, and that was a travel trip up to Phoenix. Then they get to stay home versus Deer Valley at 175. They get to play one of your teams, the 5A Maricopa, 149 at home. Then they get to travel over to Flowing Wells at 167. Stay home at Empire for 180. Rio Rico is 164 that we had mentioned or we were just talking about. They then travel over to Cholla, which is ranked 197. Then you got Rincon, which was the
ones that might mess things up.
The one that got away.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of the Rincon 209. And also, obviously, they got 2 away games following that, which is Amphi at 178 and Douglas at 168. Like I had mentioned, the strength of schedule of this one from their 1344 last year, they go to a 1799. Big difference here, which is a lot more in their favor, and they're predicted to go 2-8. Now, those 2 wins would come to the hands, obviously, of Alhambra to start off the season and Rincon. I think those are 2 vital games that they have to capitalize on and get those. And then I think what you got to look for is maybe like a Cholla or even like a Amphi or something like that. I mean, you want to try and obviously get as close to the 500 mark. I'm hoping everything goes well. I've heard a bunch of kids are kind of jumping ship to go over to Walden Grove.
Okay.
And so that could be a factor. Once again, though, they do got Coach T that's traveled up there from Nogales. And so it'd be nice to see how that happens or helps or whatnot. But I know Coach Price over there is always doing his thing. So predictions on this,
Oh man.
hard one, man.
It is. I mean, that Rincon game is going to be the difference maker.
Yeah.
From looking at the rosters and kind of dissecting a little bit, I'm actually gonna go a little lower again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So,
So
just
like
because
a 1-9 or
I-
are you
I-
gonna 0-10?
I'd say 1-9. It's
Okay.
just going to be that Rincon game might be the difference. I don't really know too much about Alhambra. I do know that it was another struggling program. So as far as it goes, I mean, it's not good to hear about teams, jumping ship, but at the same time, it might just be another year where you gotta, like you always preach, building that culture and
Right.
having that new coach come in and seeing what they can do. And So I'm gonna go lower on this one.
I'm interested. I think a lot of this is going to have to play off that Alhambra game
Hmm.
to start off and kind of get the monkey off the back kind of
Yeah.
thing. Especially going 0 and 10 the year before. I think they could easily go here in my situation, maybe 2 and 8, if not even maybe higher.
Okay.
If they can get people to buy in once again. Now I'll probably say I'm going to ride with a 2 and 8. Which once again we can be so far off on some of these things. I'll probably ride with the 208 just because I think if you can get the culture and people to buy out there at Sahuarita, which isn't that hard, there's always kids in that Sahuarita like area
Yeah.
and community, so you never know what's coming up. So I mean, I saw a lot of kids on the program last year, so hopefully they keep their heads up and things will go well. But I'll go ahead and say I'll ride with a 2 and 8.
2 and 8. Okay.
So I mean, so what we got here from what we're looking at here is we got Rio Rico and Douglas probably squabbling for
The region.
the region championship. Unfortunately, I don't see anybody in this region going off to the playoffs. But once again, like we've discussed, it's a really big Actually, this is probably one of the biggest seasons for these teams
Hmm.
because they're not blowouts like with like where you see like a Cienega playing Rincon, and so
Yeah.
it's like so. 'Cause these games could go just depending on, and this is what's funny about this region. Give me 6 solid kids, and you can change the whole,
Absolutely.
knock everything off.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be that, and I mean, we're going to be doing this over all these regions. We got a lot coming up, but you know what's going on right now?
What's that?
Those wings are calling us over
I love it.
at Native. So we're going to get out of here for them 50-cent Tuesday wings, and we'll all talk to you guys late.